Should be vegetarian option here.
Good, mate, yeah?
Yeah, good. You guys fly out here?
Right, sorry about today. Congratulations on having you here.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
Hey Ryan, yeah.
But it's effectively
That's so weird because it's delayed.
yeah, I think it's quite a long delay on that.
I imagine that was.
There you go.
Never know.
It's going, I'm looking for AKQA.
I'm Brent Ellis.
How you doing?
Yeah, good to see you. Obviously the pizza positive.
Yeah, grab a drink from the
There's a bloody good idea.
and a backup one for later, and come and eat some pizza.
We're picking up for about another 15, are we?
Yeah. 8 minutes 40. So that should immediately start picking up on the stream when at 6 o'clock, and you can see me chatting and eating pizza. I want to go over that side of the room where you can't see me.
So you're up first, I think, aren't you? Guys? Yeah. And then me, Tesh.
I haven't practiced, so I'll need to make this set up. But
3 months. And then I'm working on equipment. Yeah, probably.
What's that one?
just contact.
You're a part of that sales team.
Yeah, I think it came from the company.
Let's see, you got all the long way down.
Interesting process.
Very first.
You're all going to
So it's 2,200 or 300 globally.
very good.
We should have we'll fetch some extra. We still have a couple more if we need.
Doesn't see Kylie, I was just saying the
But some things here in Australia. Had an interview.
Oh, the beach, so yeah, he's at publicist. Sounds like yeah, I'm in your age. With technology agnostic is the word. A lot of like Kent and Site or Adobe are looking to Equia now as well. But I mean, not myself, I just sort of work on the cycle side. Pretty blind. Look, okay,
Yeah, we're going to take off in about 5 minutes, so if you want to grab another beer or another refreshment, there's soft drinks out there as well. Cider, wine, beer,
Sprite? Is there a Sprite?
Just now that we've merged with DC and Equia, but we just
something we need before that.
Probably about a little over a year ago, we were doing business. So mainly basic
Good.
How's it going? A little bit of surprise. You guys get outside?
Anxiously, we've got a project starting today. So we've been anxiously waiting for the release.
We want tomorrow, is it 9 a.m.?
Raising the risk of sprint zero things. Probably six. Yes, so I'm going to trace myself over about this.
Did you know? Oh, yeah. Three throws.
tough one for our clients actually. We do the second bit coming and we can do the rebadge and rebrand. Other one, 4 months later. Oh, really? Okay, what's the next company name?
I'm Jason Perry, President and CEO of...
Right, that's not right.
Oh, really? I'm just saying I want
Waiting for
But you can go straight to the line.
live. Okay, so it should be live, right?
say less.
No, I mean, give it a month or so.
You know what it is?
When you're online, you mean, you're not easy to say. Email experience is built in, so you're
Hey Ryan.
This is the first time I'm doing So look, it's supposed to be someone watching it. It's not, that's what it is live. See, I just went to the link now. One waiting. No, you don't want to edit the video, for fuck's sake.
Should start it. There should be a start.
Okay, so that's the event there.
Go to the dashboard. Max into this camera. What if it's live and they're watching us talk to them?
Yeah, but look, I can't see it here. Waiting for Bruce Davis-Goff. So, what do I need to do, mate?
Close that one, maybe.
This one.
Close that and then go to the other one.
No, this is the URL I sent out live, right?
Yeah, but I think that might be screwing up with you, maybe.
No,
I feel like the live dashboard.
it's live. The stream house is good.
Just set up a delay.
No.
Stream options.
No.
Stream options.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'll keep engaging Matt. It's gone.
Okay.
Google it. Google it.
Interesting. Yeah. From where?
What's going on?
So look, the live dashboard says it's live.
Yeah.
Stream health good.
Yeah.
But this is the actual URL I sent out. It says waiting for Bruce Davis-goff. I'm waiting for me to do what?
Can you go incognito? Just to check. Never done live streaming.
No, neither.
Yeah. Welcome, Bruce Day. Still Christian streaming.
Yeah.
Time.
Okay, well, we're going to get started. If you can just, can you keep working on this?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey guys, thank you. I think we're going to rock and roll. I'm having a few issues with the live streaming coding, but we've got an expert working on it now. And that's definitely not me. So firstly, thank you so much everyone for coming along. The weather out there is kind of atrocious, so amazing. Big ups. This is our first meeting in 2018. It's like a user group. So basically, the user group previously was run by Siberia, which was a site called Red. So from our perspective, they tended to become a little bit too salesy, shall we say. Whereas we don't want this to be a site for event. I've got no affiliations with anyone here or anybody who works here or has got business here. So I'm feeling quite confident I can be an independent outsider and honest voice. So again, thanks for coming. We've got a lot to cover off. Essentially, it's been a really exciting year. I started this year by going to Amsterdam for what's called SUGON. Not a really exciting name, but it's a site called User Group Conference. And it's really about the community getting together and talking about all the exciting things that are coming up. The neat thing about it is it's in Europe, so it's really, really heavily attended by the site developers who are actually working on the product. So you get a really, really good steer of where the company's going and what technologies they're working on. So at SUGON this year, it was really all about AI, machine learning, bots, all sort of stuff that we started to see come out at Symposium this year. So it's really interesting. We've got a presentation. Ryan and I are kind of going to double team it. This is the first one we've run by ourselves, so feel free to ask questions. Sorry about that. Okay, so I think we can make this work, but we're lucky. So about us, your hosts, me, Bruce Davis-goff. I'm a technology MVP. Ryan and I are really, really happy to say that we both got awarded MVP again this year for our work with the product and the community. So. And that's Ryan below us. He's also last year one of the most prolific blogger, prompting someone to comment that there was more about quality than quantity. But having said that, if you are working on a technical problem and you just need to Google something, go, don't laugh Ryan Bailey, and you'll find something on this blog which is you can excitedly explain to you how you bring across this target, you fixed it, it's wonderful. So he's provided a lot of value in that way. Luke Ballantyne, who's over there. Oh, there you go. He's the AKQA Technical Director and one of our hosts. We'd like to thank two AKQA with hosting and Luke Ballantyne's venue, of course. And the other sponsor today is Cycle Australia, who's paid for our refreshments, so good on them as well. And last down the bottom, we've got Tish Shah, who's sitting right there. He's a technical lead AKQA, and for someone who's just sort of jumped into Sitecore, he's really done fantastic stuff and come a long way in a very short period of time. So big ups to you. Right, moving on to the next slide. I've got to mention this, the hackathon, which is Friday 2nd of March. If you want to be involved, go and register and find some teams or create a team. Ryan and I have hooked up with a Canadian, and our team's called the Poutineers. Around their love of poutine, which is everyone know what that is, right? Yeah, it's kind of weird, potato and gravy. Not weird, cheese curds. It's really strange, but it's great, especially lots of gravies. So don't forget that, cyclehackathon.org if you're interested in being involved.
It's a 24-hour coding sort of competition for teams of up to 3. It runs at it's about 10 AM or 3 PM sort of start time for us on Saturday night. So it is an out of hours thing, but it's a bit of fun.
What we get is like 4 topics which we're allowed to tackle. And within those topics, we're going to come up with a module or a solution or something that's going to work within that. So it's very, very exciting. A lot of the advances in Sitecore from the open source community happen around this time. So just want to mention that. So what's new in Sitecore 9? Well, look, honestly, guys, there's so much. There's heaps. A lot of it's densely technical. A lot of it's not so technical. There's quite a few changes coming up in the architecture, how we architect our analytics and where things get pushed.
Sorry, one thing, is this being recorded?
It is. Did you get it working, Matt?
I think so. Streaming as well as recording?
It's
so we're going to come back and...
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So YouTube records it, and then when we stop the stream, it's... Do you know, I'll tell you how I found this out, because I had my laptop sitting underneath my desk with the lid open and go, how was the streaming working? Stream. Oh yeah, it was working. Boom. Next thing I know, I've been posted to Twitter and all the other MVPs are going, nice shot, guy. Luckily I had pants on, so that was a good thing. Sorry? No. So this is the kind of thing we probably couldn't get away with in the previous year's groups because we're all sort of looking at that sort of thing now. Alright, so this is what we're going to cover off. Oh my god, take a deep breath because there is an awful lot. So we're going to look at the prerequisites and requirements for installing Sitecore 9. It's very different. Before we're used to an executable where you just go double click, put in your database details, where you go, boom. Nowadays it's a lot more complicated, but in a lot of ways it's better because it allows you to script installs for specific environments. So Ryan's going to cover that off. That's the Sitecore installation framework. Search has changed. Lucene is kind of like, so environments. Really encouraged. So Ryan's going to cover that off. That's the installation framework. Now configuration. Who's ever configured a role on a server by hand? I.e., spreadsheet on one screen, configs on the other, and you comment things out and disable things. You've probably all been there, right? That's enough to drive a man mad. So that's all being taken care of with configuration roles within Sitecore 9. So you can basically just in the setting go, it's a delivery server, and everything else is taken care of. Which is, wow, mana from heaven. Authentication, we're going to talk about that. Now, single sign-on supported across, I will fulfill authentication. Dynamic placeholders, which of course you've probably all been using for a little bit, but now supported in the core product. Now, we're going to have a look at XConnect. This was previously referred to as data exchange framework, when it was sort of like a work in progress. Talk about that. Forms has changed, marketing automation has changed, there's new JavaScript services. They're pretty incredible. Ryan's going to cover off those. Sitecore Cloud Experience Commerce 9, which dropped yesterday. Yesterday, day before. So there's a whole lot of busy beavers all around who are going, I'm going to install this. Alright, then we've got Luke and Gatesh. They're going to have a look at navigating the Sitecore Experience Accelerator, SXA. I believe AKQA have used this for a couple of customers now. It is quite a fantastic solution accelerator, and we've had fun playing with it. And then we're going to finish up with Nell, something completely non-technical, but Nell's absolutely fabulous when looking at customer-centric approaches for user experience design. So it's going to take us through this end. So thanks to AKQA and thanks to Cycle. We're going to have to race, guys, because there's so much. So if I'm talking 10 to the dozen, please forgive me. All right, Ryan, look, it's got your name up there. You're up. Cool.
Can you just have to share this link again? You've got like a different link.
Okay.
So just send it out and it'll be.
Okay, carry on, Ryan. Carry on.
Alright, much like earlier, we're looking at targeting sort of Windows Server 2016, 2012, as well as the standard sort of few local PCs in Windows 10 and Windows 8. It's using the newer features of IIS, because of some parts of .NET Core, like the fast publishing service, as well as the .NET framework for server. SQL Server 2016 SP1 is required because now that we've dropped support currently from Mongo with Cycle 9, we need that version to handle the XDB inside SQL. But Mongo and Cosmos is coming in a later release at 9. But if you're not running the XDB, sort of the XCMS running mode, you can get away with early versions of SQL. And Azure Search as well, like we said, no one's been using Machine on sort of scale environments anymore, it's more Solar. But if you're taking the Azure PaaS route, Azure Search is what you need to use for your own customer use, as well as the core blocks. So in terms of security now, so this is where one of the other areas where it gets more involved with the installation is we're secure by default, and this is the things such as your Solar, your XDX site, which in Cycle 9 is a separate IIS site, as well as your communication between the web service, including with commerce as well. You sort of end up with 7 or 8 IIS sites, and each one of them is security required. As well as the sort of your data at rest at the SQL level encryption can be used, as well as at the service or level as well with data in motion. We encrypt that out of the box to provide sort of standard security features that should be there.
I think this is quite an important point because we've bumped into this with many New Zealand clients around the idea of data sovereignty. They're going, oh, hang on, all that customer data is just going into this Mongo database. This is safe, and especially when it comes to storing your data offshore, like in a data center in Australia. So with your data encrypted at rest and in motion, you can turn around and go, well, yeah, look, this is pretty safe.
Obviously, this means we need SSL certificates. Put on this. You work locally, you can of course generate your own, and you've got to be careful with which domain you register it to. But in the cloud and video production and test environments, you're going to need to generate quite a few, depending on the size of the scale of the environment. It's pretty easily locally generated pretty quickly. Get that through to the Cycle installation framework. So this is the next point. Cycle SIM's gone now. For now, it's apparently going to come back a bit more in the future, and we'll see there's sort of an in-between. But what we're looking at now is what's called the Cycle installation framework. So this is a module for PowerShell which you can install, and this allows the scripting of the installation and maintenance of Cycle. So for example, if you want to install Cycle 9, you sort of download the example startup script, and then we'll make calls off to this sort of module which handles the things like installing packages like Experience Accelerator. It can rebuild indexes, it can install updates as well. So pretty much anything that you've done by hand with Cycle in the past, this will handle, and this is where it helps with things like Azure PaaS as well. With commerce as well, there's quite an intensive script as well that they give you that will install all of that and all of those prerequisites. So 7 or 8 different modules plus PowerShell extensions and whatnot. Sorry?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, they're just configured using JSON files. So it's a little bit of mucking around in JSON files, setting things up correctly. But once you've done it once, it's incredibly flexible, and because it's using PowerShell scripts, I mean, you can effectively do anything. So if you want to deploy an environment once, you could set that script up and then just completely reuse it. Whereas before, you know, if you're running the executable, then run up the executable and then go through and configure. It'll also do things like there's some community contribution scripts for like running up Solar, generating a self sign cert for Solar, and setting that up without you having to do anything except go run.
Oh, effectively, what the official SIP is, that's the module for PowerShell that gives you all of these modules that you can call and all these functions. And when I talked about the sort of the example install script, that's just a short little configured thing where you type in the details of the instance and that'll call all of the PowerShell modules. So in your case, you could use just the module to do sort of own existing process as well.
Can you push your own scripts up there to use?
I don't know about on the official release. I think there may be a GitHub there with pull requests, but it's one of those ones where they're quite, I think if you raised or found a bug or you showed an improvement to support, they can sort of help with putting it in. But much like Sim, it's not really not that, it's somewhat open source, but you know, they're quite protective of this sort of stuff because it's quite a security risk what it's doing.
So remember we had some issue on the configuration manipulations of same servers, where some configurations, schedules were running on global servers, where they have some conflicts. So will these scripts take care of that?
One of the future things we'll talk about around the roles might cover that one a bit better, around some configurations. So so here's the sort of an example of how you get it installed from the cloud and everything. Here's an example from Solar and Serve. Solar is the fun to set up, so that helps. We've got Simplest, Thomas is in where that's sort of in between with Sim, and that kind of gives you a GUI on top of this, which it's worth looking into. That kind of gives you a much more user-friendly way to handle this, and it gives you a real look at the options and things, so it's worth looking at. And there's also some great video producers out there. So Wayne, I'll give you some more info on that. I think that was part of the alert. So it's a good tool though. So in terms of search, I thought of you when that was put in. I thought Wayne's experience. So Vario's looking down at us now. So like we've talked about, in terms of Lucene, it's sort of not recommended. If you're running a single server side, for instance, which there are still smaller current implementations of that, you're still welcome to use Lucene, but it's on the, it's not, I mean, I think these are all running on top of Lucene anyway, but generally people won't use that anymore. But Solar and Azure Search are required for XDM to get all of that goodness out of that. Generally, you'll use Solar on your on-prems and IaaS. If you're looking at the PaaS option, you need to use Azure Search. It's pretty easy to set up. It's not too much to handle it as well. Much like, I mean, a lot of us start off on Lucene, I'm guessing as well. So all of these contract libraries that we use for the ranking of the search against the content and the highlighting and suggested terms and fuzzy search and all that stuff, that's all still there. So a lot of your code, like I've done a Lucene to Solar migration, it's all much the same, it's just a slight different index configuration, but not much really changed. So this is the one Bruce was talking about. We've all had quite a bit of fun with this spreadsheet going down in this one file, and we've got 2 CM servers and one of them's got this turned on and one of them doesn't, or you make the infrastructure guys go through and check 3 environments. So it's always been a bit of a hassle. This is PowerShell up as well, there's some stuff available, but it was always a bit of a hassle, and I think quite often you run into issues with this. So this is what the sort of current state that we used to do. So what we're looking at now is the rules-based configuration, and that's where you, in the configuration, sort of assign a role to a server and say this is the content delivery role, this is the content management plus processing plus reporting, and you say, and that will automatically handle how these files are enabled, so to speak, as well as the additional patch folder locations. Again, it's not recommended to edit these files directly, we've all sort of done those, but the places where we want to patch these is there's a folder, the site call for the core CMS patch things you're going to make. Modules is where, if you're still running web form for marketers in 9, you would make the patch for that. Custom is where all your internal stuff would go, no more like ZZZ client name. And environment's an interesting one as well, where you can have settings and other variables and things that change depending on the environment. So for example, your mail settings will be different in a defined UAT production environment as well. So it takes away a lot of the sort of customizations you have to do around that. There'll be a screenshot in the next slide, but the load ordering of all of these patches and whatnot, so obviously sort of your custom environment will come at the end. And search provider is actually defined sort of as a configuration item as well. And again, you might have that environment base where you're running Solar locally, but Azure up in the cloud for your pairs. So here's here we're defining the role as a standalone, so your single server locally, as well as the search, which you still got the 3 there. And down here is some examples of settings that are set for. So in this example, your content manager in the cloud or your standalone will have item cloning enabled. And then you have some custom settings where it's and ands, and you can use a bit of logic around this sort of stuff. Or not, and it adds a lot more customization, a lot more easily as well. And this is an example of your search index as well. And you'll notice all the homes look the same, but this index, for example, would be turned on with Solver as the provider. So this is, what did you put this on, Bruce? So the config load order, obviously we went from with the ZZZ folders and the ZZZ switch master link, which is you won't need anymore with this new provider. But effectively, based on Helix as well, this is showing you the load order of these configurations as well. So it's quite interesting. If people follow the new Helix framework for solution design, obviously you start with the foundation and go to the feature, which will pop across the project as well. And here's an example of a defined environment. So there's your UAT environment, and your password changes based on which environment it's set in. So this is things like UCTP settings or service endpoints and that sort of stuff. It's going to make it a lot more easier, and then we don't have to custom code to switch through these sorts of things.
So do you see the encryption?
Yeah, I think this here is a bit of a, it's just a comment with the bees and then nothing to store in it. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm not sure about that, why that isn't salted. I think this is a custom setting, but I'm not sure actually why that would be some comments. Just an example. Yeah, I think it's. Yeah, I like it. Federated authentication, it's not a common requirement with a lot of implementations in New Zealand. Effectively, any of the old middlewares we use, so you've got the common ones in there. Probably the likely ones you'd use if you're doing this sort of thing, like your Facebook and your Twitters for user-generated content sort of stuff. And that will either create some virtual users in Sitecore or persistent users who maybe you're saving some data on their Sitecore profile. And this is membership database is separate from the XDB identification contact details. This is where there might be permissions assigned to them. Maybe you have people that are logging in with elevated permissions, for example, so you might store it on these persistent users. and XTB contacts is sort of aside from this stuff. You would hit custom identifiers if you were looking at that. And there's these are good resources here. We're going to share these slides, so there's a few links to some really good blog posts in here. This one here, it's probably not, yeah, the one that's up on the line as well, that's worth looking into it if there's something interesting. So dynamic placeholders has been a bit of a sticking point for years now. In the site called user voice, it's always been the most voted feature. We've got custom implementations of this, and now it's finally been brought in. So an example of this might be where you have a 2-column rendering which you bring into the page, which has a placeholder. If you were to then insert another 2-column into that 2-column, in the past with that dynamic placeholders that wouldn't be working, you need this installed or a custom plotline in the past to be able to support that. So this is Habitat and SXA both had something to handle it, but that was again customization. So there's uses for this in the terms of dynamic content building, and there's a few cases where many upgrades have to be moved across to. And it is an SEO, I should mention, but in theory, no one should be doing reports and new builds. It's been a while. I think a lot of us are still on reports, but yeah. And there's again a couple more good resources on this, and this one's quite good as well. If you're using a custom implementation, it goes over sort of how to fix it up and handle the changes there.
Okay, yeah, so the XDB and how it's been architected has changed quite dramatically with 9. As you can see there, you've got a lot of stuff going all over the ship, just to put it simply. That's kind of what it's going to look like now. Everything's going through XConnect, and it's also all encrypted and secure. So I'm not going to go too technical on that. It's basically a standalone service layer, .NET Core 2. The idea behind it, and this is part of the overall Sitecore strategy, is that the more information you know about your visitors, obviously the more you can tailor your customer experience, and the more you're able to address them on an individual manner. The thing is, these days we're getting such a huge variety of inputs. So when you think about it, you've got email, you've got social, you've got their web interactions, and then you've got exciting things which are coming up, which we haven't even really begun to deal with, which is like the Internet of Things, your enabled fridges, where you've got your displayed shopping list on. And you go, hey Google, add bananas to my shopping list, and it's going to pop up in your thing. Hey Google, send my shopping list to, generic supermarket for delivery order tomorrow. This is the sort of thing is will be happening in the next, 2 to 3 years in New Zealand. It's pretty close. But the point is that when you get this such big data set, it's becoming untenable for humans to analyse it, to look for trends, to figure out that if you are a female shopper from Glen Eden who's coming to the site on Friday afternoon, you're far more likely to buy alcohol or some such thing like that. I'm just making this stuff up. But if you're trying to analyse those huge data sets to look for those trends, so when that female shopper who lives in Glen Eden, is between the ages of 18 and 20, hits your site at 4 p.m. on a Friday afternoon, you're not going to show a chicken, are you? You're actually going to show your alcohol specials, quite likely. And I'm just using alcohol as an example because it could be any product set across this. But humans, at this data set level, we're not capable of making those decisions, spotting those trends. And this is where AI is playing a huge part of it. So AI is something we're all going to have to come to terms with pretty fast. And Sitecore's kind of ahead of the patch really with this. If you know Sitecore, you've got the path analyzer in there, and you've also got this thing called suggested tests. So when you go and set up a page test, now you want to do a test, it's also suggesting other tests. And that's actually using moderately primitive machine learning and AI to present those tests. Sitecore is going way beyond that in the next few iterations, and all of your analytics data, if if you were to think about it, it makes sense to actually send it off into the cloud and to use the site called cloud, because then you can also use the site for artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms to actually mine that in real time. So we're talking about a future where we've got huge data sets where, and it comes with risks, right? Everyone following the great Fitbit controversy in the last week, where suddenly all the Fitbit data, which they posted to the cloud,
another brand.
anonymously with another brand, suddenly they realise that you go and you go, hey look, here's an American army base in Iraq, and here's where the guys go jogging in the morning because there's this really busy line. Perfect. So there's going to be unintended consequences in the future, but it's a very exciting future. So XConnect really is just a way, and essentially we got introduced to XConnect. Oh yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. Web forms. Oh, so sad. They cry. XConnect a little while back with Data Exchange Framework. When we were in New Orleans, we talked to the architect of this, Todd, and said, "Oh, we've got a customer in New Zealand who really wants to do this funky stuff with the Data Exchange Framework, and we're just more than a little bit nervous about it because we don't know where the product's going." And we don't want to build something and then 6 months later they go, oh, here's one new framework, we've got to refactor all this, it's going to cost all your clients heaps. So we dug out and found out about it, and XConnect is really just the genesis of that. So fortunately we're on the right path. But this is why I think it pays to go to these events and try and stay ahead of the curve. As you can see up here, web forms, it's not dead, it's just kind of limping along on a crutch, not looking very happy. Everyone who's tried to develop for web form for marketers in this room knows that it's, well, I don't know, you can really have much more fun at the end. But web forms has been replaced. And the new web forms, Ryan was going to do a demo, but his machine kind of rolled over and died in a spectacular fashion due to some other activity.
Yeah, I had the pre-release for Commerce and now I installed the new one. I had to blow away the old one.
So the days of web form for marketers are gone. The new forms are really nice. I think web forms is they keep supporting it up to 9.1, and after that, you should really look at migrate new forms across. It's a whole heap easier to use. It's completely rewritten, modern interface, drag and drop, integration with engagement automation, XDB pumping everything back. Really nice design interface. It just, when you look at what web forms used to be like, oh, praise the Lord. Beautiful things.
So that's a manual upgrade for your forms as well, but coming in the future is some of the stuff like conditional rendering. So if a user presses yes on this checkbox, show this form field, this sort of stuff we can customize. That's coming in the new release. The goal originally was feature parity.
So yeah, like it's not web form for marketers, supported until 9.1, but some neat things like multi-page forms, which have all been kind of hacked together for a while now. No more. You can also, there's some good analytics stuff. You can analyse your form performance. God, I can't believe how easygoing we are around forms in New Zealand. When you think about it, you contact us form, or any form on your page is pretty much the first thing that a customer is going to use to connect with you. So at that point, it's the very start of your engagement process. So it really does deserve a bit of thought. So a contact us form, for example, I go in and fill out, oh, sorry, I've just looked at your products and I can't kind of figure out which one is which. This is a whole lot of valuable information, right? Firstly, I'm telling them I'm interested in their product, I'm telling them which product I'm interested in, and I'm also giving them a potential solution how they can sell that product to me. Should that be ignored? Should that be going off to somebody's email box where some disgruntled employee is going to kind of go in the morning and go, oh, yeah, a few of these things and sift your way through? This is what engagement automation is about. For my mind, any form on your site should immediately just throw them into an engagement automation plan. And the contact us one's an obvious one. First thing you do is you send back an email saying, hey, look, thanks for contacting us. One of our highly skilled and charming and handsome customer service reps will be right back to you soon. And then wait a few days. Has this been updated? Has any other contact come through? Are you plugged into your CRM? Have they called up? All these sort of things really work. And so you wait 3 days. Are they happy? Send them up. Has your problem been resolved? How can we possibly help you further? And it's through this sort of engagement automation that you win customers for life. It's true, it's undeniable. So you can also analyse your form performance and go, well, every time someone gets this big, huge field put down the bottom, they just abandon the form. Maybe we should rethink that. Marketing automation, Ryan was going to talk about this. Who remembers the Silverlight marketing automation? Inward shutter. This is all HTML5, so it's really beautiful views, really nice. I think Kentico really would beat up first, but I think this is much better than Kentico now. So if you run Cyclone, you have a good play with that. Yes, no more Silverlight. It replaces what used to be called engagement automation. Speed 3 has been figured prominently throughout Cyclone 9. Angular JS-based service, it's great.
I think it's a bit easier to hook into now. I think once customized service profiles and things, it's a little bit nicer.
So this replaces engagement automation, but what happens with whatever I created for engagement?
Again, I think that's a manual.
There's no migration
Yeah.
path. You have to rebuild your plans, sorry. But you know, it's a lot easier now. So Ryan's going to talk about JavaScript services. This is really exciting stuff. I've seen guys with demos where they've created whole content trees with just a few JavaScript commands. So Ryan's going to cover it off. It's pretty cool.
So effectively, this is Cycle's headless CMS offering. It's a way of exposing the core features of the product through to your front-end developers. They're not going to need they can use their Sublime text or the Visual Studio Code. They're not going to force them into installing Cycle and what comes with it. Whereas they could be hitting a service URL up in a development environment, or if you're feeling brave on your own laptops, and when you leave for the day, they're dead. It's quite. We've been showing it with a few of our front-end guys internally, and the feedback's been quite positive. In the past, there's sort of customizations needed for a lot of this stuff, but there is a preview out now where you can provide a bit of feedback. The gotcha down there on the consumption licensing is if you purchased a Cycle license for X number of prod servers, I don't believe your license will cover it out of the box. You'll need to speak to your account manager. But I think a lot of the newer people we've got coming on are on this sort of consumption model where you pay one number of visits. There was a Matt that's not put as the account manager for New Zealand. If you're not sure, reach out to your partner or Cycle Direct as well.
And if you still can't find anyone, just give us a yell, I'll track someone down for you. We just did an interim phase at the moment. There isn't actually a Cycle rep on the ground in New Zealand. They're running out of Australia, which is a bit sad for us.
Do you want to talk to this guys?
No, carry on. We should do your name on.
Yeah, so just a few other notes on Cycle is they've cleaned up a lot of the code in terms of some of the older references in there. For people that are coming from a really early version of Cycle where you've upgraded but not updated the deprecated references, you might have a bit of fun when you hit 9 and you've got to go back a version of the code to see which reference is gone and what you should have been using at 8.1. So there's a bit of fun there. Experience editors a little bit more smoother. Speed-wise, I've had some initial feedback that it is a little bit faster. I know there's a few instances out there where people have had speed issues around that and had to do some customizations and caching and things to get that running a bit smoother. No more Silverlight, which is good. I think the App Store is now Silverlight free as well, but what we were left with on Silverlight was the App Store for purchasing your GeoIP lookups and EBCM mail outs, marketing automation. So that's all finally gone. We don't have to install IE to get it going. And the upgrades are going to be a bit more simpler, and they're continuing their model with the Express upgrades as well. For example, 9 can come from versions of 8.1 to skip 8.2 as well. And I think moving forward it's going to be a much simpler process. And SIP will have support, I believe, to handle a lot of this as well. Got the device detection, which is a paid feature as well. I think that it's quite strong. It picks up TVs and some of this some other sort of stuff that does quite a bit out of the box and makes it a bit easier for personalisation models, targeting different, someone's browsing maybe smart rich, maybe they need a bit of personalisation. The site core experience accelerators had a lot of bug fixes and improvements. Petition looping, and I'll talk a bit more of that soon. And documentation now, in the past, this is sort of how people got their MP was deep bottom the site core DLLs and figuring out what the story was and blogging about that. Site core really has improved documentation with Martina and the team out there in Europe. It's quite strong in terms of things like your data exchange framework and other modules. They really deep dived into provide a lot of examples and a lot of hints and tips, and it's worth having a look at some of this new stuff. Some examples here in the development center as well, with some of the early adopters of this was your XT and your marketing automation sort of newer features. As well as the habits is a really good example of how their new structure and the format they use, and JSS if you're going to be taking a look at that.
So the future, quite a few things got unveiled at Symposium in Las Vegas. The first one is going to be around the idea of Cortex, which is like cloud-based machine learning. So you'll be able to push your analytics data sets up into the cloud and basically get machines to go through and spot trends and make recommendations. So it's going to go further. Over the next few years, we're going to see this done automatically. So on your site, you'll be able to set up automatic machine learning optimization of your site. So it's going to watch what people are doing, and when people start doing things, it's automatically going to give them the best experience. Of course, you can tune it, turn it on and off, or that sort of thing. But it's around this brave new future where we've just got so much data about people coming from their Fitbits and their fridges and everything. Humans just don't have brains big or fast enough to be able to go through and deal with that. So that's going to play a really big part. Zenith Slash Horizon, the content, the experience editor is going to be replaced, and from what we saw of a demo of it, it's really, really nice. You can do actually everything in one window. I could probably wobble on about it for a couple of hours, but you can compare pages and you can see optimization experiences, and it's all done through the experience editor, and it's really beautiful to watch. So that's going to be fantastic to see. And of course, Commerce 9, which dropped a couple of days ago. Previously, Cycle Commerce 8.2.1 was, perfectly honest, a bit of a bleeding nightmare, really, because you still have all these legacy bits of what used to be Microsoft Commerce, in which you may know had this incredible history with Microsoft product, and wasn't. It was sold to else, then wasn't. And then Sitecore picked it up. So the last few bits of that legacy stuff, which is actually the commerce server per se, which used to sit separately, and you do all your stuff with services, right? So your web service, your order service, your product service, blah, 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 on the web. That's all been replaced. It's been completely written in .NET Core 2 and pulled into the core product. So as a commerce experience platform, it's just incredibly powerful. It's got all of the Sitecore stuff, but all the personalization stuff, but in one nice and neat package rather than muck around with other things. So there's just some slides. Yeah, machine learning for real-time insights. That's really a personal data scientist. This was shown at the very last sort of 10 minutes of Symposium, and people were just like, oh no, it was like a religious meeting. There's like people standing up and, hey, hallelujah, fantastic. Because there's some neat things there. So you can see, in the experience editor, this is looking at a mobile view. You've got these things down the side where you can do all sorts of like experience management, change how things, look at it, how a user from so-and-so or some profile might see it. First, I'm looking forward to it, really. So what you're seeing there is sort of things like heat maps. You're looking at performance for an individual page, how you can optimize it, suggested tests. All of this stuff's coming with machine learning, really, because we're just too dumb as humans. The SXA storefront, which we'll probably be playing around with in the next few days, it's essentially SXA dropped onto the new commerce platform. So again, you've got the whole drag and drop components onto the page, build up pages, it makes it a lot easier. So that's questions.
Chris, you have to upgrade to 9 to get the benefits of the experience cloud.
Do you have to upgrade to 9?
9 to get the experience cloud.
No, I believe that.
Kind of slightly different.
8 up still talking using the analytics cloud. Essentially, the cloud is just.
It's quite simple.
Yeah, you've got database. Did you guys pick up on the thing that is now alternative to using Mongo? So, do you remember we thought, why don't you just use SQL Server for your analytics? Because it doesn't scale that well, because you've got huge data sets going into it, there's a huge throughput, it's just not optimized for that sort of performance. So, but apparently now it is.
Cosmos is coming as well for a lot of that.
Cosmos database?
Yeah, so it's not hammering that server as much, it's sort of saving up while they're in the registration and sending it through. But once that Cosmos comes off, it'll be doing a lot more live tracking. For example, with your engagement automation, that will genuinely need to wait for the session to end for all of that experience data to come through, which 20 minutes by default after their last interaction. But there's an option to make it a live engagement automation plan, and that means as soon as the user performs an action, meets a goal, has an outcome, that it will run through. It's not recommended to do in huge doses, it takes a lot of processing.
That's on any SQL server, not just cloud. You can use it on-premise as well, SQL servers.
For the 2016,
yeah,
2016 update 1 for the cycle design, yeah. There's some recommendations on sort of sizing and requirements as well. It's quite a little bit simple, so you need to handle. And if you use you might want to split it out. It's something to monitor as well, depending on traffic and how you sets and all that sort of stuff as well.
But yeah, for anyone who's ever struggled with setting up replica sets through command lines and then encrypting it, this could be a solution for you.
Any plans for EXM and EXM?
Yeah, so I asked this one at the MVP summit in Vegas. They wasn't happy to answer it, but the lessons learned, it's going to continue to be supported, but I don't think there's going to be a lot of new features through it. And yeah. But I'd speak to maybe sort of sales representative, but yeah, there's nothing being announced. It's looking like it's going around the world.
Are they planning to incorporate that directly into the site or?
Not that they've announced, but I think there might be something coming for that, but they haven't officially brought anything up for that, unfortunately.
You're thinking about moving up to Cycle 9, and can you take EXM with you?
I'm more worried about EXM.
EXM's approved actually in terms of just general, like the amount of bugs they've kind of fixing through that. I think here in Australia that's the probably for that. But EXM is upgrading quite nicely actually. So that's got to change. And it's in the core platform with 9 now. You don't install a super thing. One of that's yeah.
Is there anything new in experience?
Speed and maybe with that sort of around that testing and the sedition test stuff. It's I think it's looking a lot more different than what you've expected. Than what you see now. I feel the speed. It seems faster. You know, when you first loaded, you got that sprinting thing for 20 years.
And also, we need to want to make the experience as well.
Yeah, there's that long
They have some facts that
yeah.
you have some scripts how they do that, which works. Not sure whether they have something cycle time.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty standard cycle practice. You remember like how 7.2 was still very old-fashioned. We hit 7.5 and suddenly we had Mongo Analytics, but there wasn't a lot of stuff plugged into that. And then as we incrementally went, new stuff came in. So effectively 9 is like you can view it at this stage, like the initial release, as a new platform, and you're going to see a whole lot more functionality come into this releases. I think 9.1 is going to have.
That's when the machine learning starts. Really what it was they had a lot of old technical debt, including with the old Microsoft Commerce Server stuff. And the whole idea was to get this clean base, get this core upgrade, things, get rid of Silverlight, we've got a clean slate and they can build, and they are. They've got this teams that are hiring up quite a large growth period and after go down as well on there. So we've got whole teams of people doing machine learning, for example, and ECM. And they work very closely with Lighthouse customers as well to really look at how to improve these products. For example, Commerce, one of their offices in Australia works closely with a large implementation. I know with ECM they work with a couple of the really big users, talking millions of emails a month as well, so they're trying to have this built at scale as well. Alright, should we swap over to look at the test? The people probably want to grab a drink.
Yeah, grab a drink, eggs. And
well, we took it on time? Yeah,
Like that.
Oh, that's true. One is requires CM1, which shows processing requires CM2. So you can use a combination of those two elements.
Recommendation on site, and then you have it's not exactly what
No, just call it number 2. We tuned off all that stuff as well, and there's a combination of the two. Or like you said, content management plus process, and you define one as just content management and one as just processing as well, but that actually might do it quite easily. But the SIP stuff, I might see some of it through to John. Should be right. But it's quite nice that we work looking at this. So anything that you guys CM2 or CM5, which is one of the 8 versions, really is. So there's a spruce one. But of course, going from 6.5 to 6.5, yeah, you're probably looking at to install more versions in that jump. It's 9 looks too bad because you can jump straight to A1, so you'd probably be looking at 6.5, 7.2, spruce up to 8.1 or 8, and then to 9. For me, the biggest one I've seen was where, so you were on 6.5 and 7.2. 7.2 said all these emissions are deprecated, use this one now. People have ignored those, and then I've gone to one of the further versions, they're gone. And I can't see that what it used to be, so I did the source control up with the old version and go operate it out. And this is now this. That's the tricky one. Glass man property as well, like a big upgrade on some glass man TDS. There's a big one there that's really customised the ECM. Everyone wants to cyclist, but it's customization and the West Coast There's the other option as well. It's just the same site online. Otherwise, you just have the blue-green when you want to actually follow this as any source because you know it can't be upgraded. Guys, want to kick
Alrighty guys, get overweight. So my name's Luke Valentine, this is my colleague Zesh Shah, so we're going to walk you through, give you a little bit of a whistle stop tour of SXA. I think we're probably, well certainly this guy is probably one of the leading SXA experts, I think, probably in New Zealand. He's done a lot of work with it. So I'm going to walk you through, give you a little bit of an intro, show you some of the features, some of the new bits and pieces, and then I'll hand it to Tesh for some live demos. Alrighty, so why Cycle Experience Accelerator? So stepping back, so in the beginning there was the development process, it was linear. So basically you had your design, you had your front end development, your back end development. Content loading happened at the end, so the thing is, it took quite a long time to get a product to the market. And the idea of an accelerator is to speed up that process and allow you to overlap a little bit of that. So back in the day, we had some third-party accelerators, and so these promised things like rapid development, out-of-the-box responsive. And then they included some components for like navigation and snippets and other bits and pieces like this. So I'm not sure if you guys might have remembered this one. This scored by BrainJocks. This was an accelerator.